Hello and welcome to the Global Poker League and our new segment where we ask our resident pro to take us through a hand in detail from the GPL. This particular segment we're going to focus on a hand between Anatoly Filatov and George Danza from the Eurasian heads up, and Jonathan Little is kindly going to take us through the hands. Jonathan, this is a hand, probably not a hand that had huge fireworks, but certainly a hand that you found interesting.
Right, so a lot of the hands in the Global Poker League that people like to focus on are these huge all-in bluffs or giant calls. But this hand actually illustrates something that happens very often that the best players are doing that allows them to slowly win these small pots and chip up without a whole lot of risk. So in this hand, George is going to raise with Jack-2 offsuit from the button, which is a perfectly fine play. Some people fold to Jack-2 offsuit, but I think folding is good and mandatory. They're taking their time. There it goes. So we have a raise to 1100, and now Anatoly with King-9 offsuit decides to just defend. This is a spot where you really don't want to be 3-betting and re-raising. 3-betting and re-raising mean the same thing. If you re-raise, George is probably only going to call with hands that have King-10 in marginal shape, and you're out of position. So you don't want to be 3-betting so often. So flop comes Queen 10-4. Anatoly has a gut shot straight draw, which is usually not a good hand, but it is acceptable enough. You're okay with continuing with this. So he does check. George is going to make a continuation bet. This is a board where if George has no backdoor draws at all, he should probably give up. Like say he had, I don't know, 8-7 offsuit, he should probably give up. But with Jack-2, he has a little bit of equity. The Jack may be good, which is not here. the backdoor straight draw may be good. So he decides to bet 1200. And Anatoly calls properly, mainly because if he folds this, you have to ask what else is he folding. He's going to be folding out a lot of his king highs, which is a little bit weak, a lot of his ace highs, which is also a little bit weak. Whenever you're getting 3-1 pot odds on the flop, you do have to defend somewhat wide heads up. You just can't give up too often. So anyway, turn is
the 10 of hearts.
10 of hearts. Anatoly is now going to make a play that many people do not make. He's going to lead. This is something you will see a lot in the Global Poker League, especially when the middle or the bottom card on the flop pair on the turn. So let's take a look at his bet size. We see here he leads 3/4 pot. And when we were watching the commentary with Anatoly, he was just really pretty nonchalant about it. It's like, this is just obviously what you do. And this is how he got a very nice lead on George Danza in this match. He just pillaged him with small bets by doing stuff like this. And this is not like a huge, sexy bluff or anything like that.
But it was enough to take it down.
Well, yeah, I mean, he won this small little pot with relatively little risk. Obviously, he bluffed George off of the best hand, but George is often going to be folding out an ace here, or he's going to fold out pocket fives, or maybe he calls with pocket fives and then folds on the river. So by playing it this way, he gives himself the opportunity to realize some equity by picking up the pot with one bet, and he also just steals the pot and increases his chip stack, and appears very aggressive, which will hopefully get him paid off in the future whenever he actually does pick up a hand.
I think we were saying at the time it was a match where often, it was small pots that were sort of balancing the stacks one way or the other, and eventually George found himself low and was forced to get involved in a flip. But it was one of the example of a game where small pots were the key to Anatoly's victory.
Well, whenever you watch a lot of the best players play, very often someone will win something like 55 or 60% of the pots, and they will slowly chip up. And whenever you get to the short stack stage, which inevitably happens whenever you have two good players, one player will have 65,000 chips and the other will have 35,000. And now the player with 65,000 chips is a roughly 2-to-1 favorite to win. And it doesn't look like they did anything too special, but right here, Anatoly won these small pots and it ended up giving him the victory.
He went on to win the game 2-1.
Gave him 2-1, exactly. So great job by Anatoly. And this situation is something that I recommend all of you try. Whenever the middle card pairs, feel free to give it a lead.
I'm going to give it a go, absolutely. Thank you, Jonathan Little. That's all for this hand. Join us again next time with the pro. Adios. Connect with us on social media for league updates and download our app, GPL TV, to stay on top of everything GPL.